Hello Reddit, it is I again, back with another PTS video. I know it's been a couple days since the last PTS update came out. It came out on Tuesday and it's Sunday now. I just got back to a place where I can actually record. I was out for break and I'm back on my recording PC. I know a bunch of people have already given their thoughts on the PTS update, but that's not going to be the point of this video. I'm not going to go over the entire thing. Enough has already been said on that. What I'm not seeing enough of, and I'm slightly worried about, is the new what has changed on the three Sunderer AV weapons, the Siegebreaker, the Paladin, and the Aurora. The balance has changed, and it has changed drastically, and I cannot say it is for the better. I believe that the balance is very out of whack at this point. On top of a couple other changes to each gun that has been made. Notably, two important changes to weapons before we get started. The Siegebreaker is no longer an automatic burst weapon. Allow me to demonstrate. Holding it down. Also, by the way, the rockets are still fucked and the model is still messed up as well. The Paladin is also no longer an automatic weapon either. You cannot just hold the trigger down on these either. The Aurora is the only one that is capable of automatic sustained fire at this point. The numbers have all been adjusted, so we'll take a look at that, and we'll go against the TTK of Sunderer, and I will introduce them all. The TTK on each of these weapons has almost doubled on every single gun. It is drastically different. But there's still a few balance points I want to go over, a few concerns that I'm seeing as a Sunderer driver, and what I think this means for Sunderer and combat in general. Anyway, so let's get right into it. Sorry for the lengthy intro. So the Siegebreaker is up first. The Siegebreaker, as I said, no longer auto burst. It's still messed up. The stats have changed a little bit, whoops, and I'll read them off to you really quick. It has slowed down considerably. There is now a lengthy delay in between bursts. That's the fastest I can get it to do. I think it's slightly slower. The rate of fire is definitely slower. 154 RPM, 240 damage. Indirect damage is very low, it's 60 at 0.5. Muzzle velocity of 150 meters a second. I cannot tell with the rockets the way they are if there is acceleration. If someone would like to clear this up, it does not appear that there is acceleration. Well, it appears that there's a little bit. But still, it doesn't change a whole lot. Reloads in 2.5 with reload speed, it goes down to 2. 16 in the clip and slight cone of fire. Not much, similar to a Gatekeeper, so basically none. So, TTK against a stock Sunderer is now 36 seconds if I timed it correctly, and it was 16. Now, this is going to get problematic in the future because the Paladin now has very similar TTK, and I'm concerned about the way the two interact with each other, that the Paladin seems like a straight upgrade over the other two, but more on that later. So here goes nothing. As you can see, I'm doing considerably less damage per burst. It is almost half. Well, that would coincide with the lengthier TTK. There's also a delay after you fire your burst before you can reload this weapon. So the Siegebreaker hasn't changed a whole lot. It's definitely slower. I believe the rate of fire for the rockets themselves is slower. I haven't checked it against the last video, considering that these are all still kind of in beta. That's just the single weapon. It is definitely slowed down against armored targets, and the other two have slowed down as well. Does a pretty crazy amount of damage to aircraft as well, but all of them do as well. That's another balance point I'd like to bring up here in a minute. So that is TR. There's not much else to it. Still broken. Not a whole lot to see here. I'm not sure if there's rocket full acceleration. It appears to be a little bit, but it is definitely a medium speed projectile. Nothing to write home about like the Gatekeeper. Alright, on to NC. So the Paladin did receive the change where you can no longer full auto it. Every trigger pull you have to wait between the thing. I think that's a good change to a degree because it it mitigated the idea of it having a delay before the shot came out, because basically you held down the trigger, it just felt like an automatic weapon. It didn't feel like anything. Also, it is still literally broken. You cannot equip an optic at the same time as reload speed. Reload speed only takes off 10% though, so that's a very minute amount from 1.8 seconds. Stats really quick, 75 RPM. I believe that incorporates the delay, I'm not sure, but it doesn't feel much slower than 1 shot per second. 850 direct damage, this is by far the hardest hitting of all of them, obviously, NC. It does have a small amount of indirect damage, but you're never going to feel it unless you're very dead. Muzzle velocity of 620 meters per second. This is one of the larger balance concerns that I have. The TTK on the Paladin is very similar to that of the Siegebreaker, yet it is far, 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 far easier to utilize due to this velocity mechanic. The delay is not very long. It's not something that you have to really worry about compensating for, and it reloads very quickly. This is by far the easiest of the three to use, in my opinion. It's definitely not the spammiest. That award goes to the Aurora for VS, but this is by far the easiest one to use, and I think this one needs more looking at. Anyway. And on the topic of aircraft, why I brought that up a second ago, this thing, 2 shots in air, up very high, and it will put basically an ESF down to less than 5% health, if I crunch the numbers correctly, with 2 hits on an ESF, and it is incredibly fast projectile speed. There's a scythe, there it is. What I'm talking about. Boom. Fire. And I don't have ET, but yeah, there it goes. It's incredibly strong against aircraft, and it is incredibly fast, and I would not like this to be a supplanted AA weapon, if possible. That's just a point of concern that I have. So let's reload. So the Paladin, my timing was a little bit messed up at the end because I was trying to click both my phone and at once, but it's 35 to 36 seconds. So it's very comparable to the Siegebreaker's 36 seconds. So here we go. I just realized I don't have ET on, so I'll put another one on. I'll do another round. It's on burning. It's like basically dead. Yep. So one from the last mag. Here, let me put on enhanced targeting and I'll do another run. Just can skip ahead to the next video if you don't want to see this. And we're just going to wait for the Sunderer to respawn here in a second. I think there's another one around here. There it is. And just above burning, as you saw in the last video, and, well, should have been dead. So, this weapon's very easy to use. Has about the same TTK. This is the one that I'm most concerned about. Previously, I mentioned that it was basically similar to the pre-nerf Gatekeeper in terms of ease of use. They nerfed its effectiveness, definitely, which is a good step in the right direction, but still, comparatively to the Siegebreaker and the Aurora, there's no benefits to the other two, really, that this one doesn't have. On the topic of long-range shooting, I'm just going to shoot at the tree over there. It does have a little bit of drop, but the projectile reaches its target in, I'd say, under half a second. You know, maybe 1 second if you're shooting at extreme ranges, but not even that, I feel like. It one-hits infantry, boom, 850 damage plus 150 indirect means 1,000 damage. Anyone not wearing flak armor is dead on impact. It is also pretty crazy against max suits, but that goes for most of these guns as well. Yeah, dead. 1% health, pretty much. I have some concerns about this weapon. Definitely, I've said that, but I would definitely say that all three of these need their effectiveness against aircraft reduced. It is really easy, especially with the Paladin, to just score easy hits and get insane amounts of chunk damage. And I think the long-range viability of this gun needs to be looked at. It needs some sort of downside, because right now there's no real appreciable downside. It doesn't take long to compensate for the drop. It does not take like any horizontal leading effort. It's basically as point and click as you can get. So anyway, this is the Paladin. Moving on, and if I did not mention earlier, 35 seconds increased from 19 seconds previously. 19 seconds, it was tied with the Aurora with 20 seconds for being slower. Now, this is going to disappoint Vanu players a lot. The Aurora has been heavily nerfed. If I got it correctly, it was 20 seconds. It's now 43. This thing has no bullet drop, yes, but again, the low velocity of the weapon is not enough to compensate for that. Well, relative low velocity is not enough to compensate really for that incredibly slow time to kill. So it is firing 2 shots at once, so double the damage. So it does 150 per shot, so that's 300 total when you shoot it once. 100 indirect damage, 0.5 meters, 325 meters a second velocity, 109 RPM, so a little bit slower than 2 per second. Reloads in 2.2, 20 in the clip, and yeah. Looks like I forgot to equip Racer. Let's see if this NC one is full health. This is the only one capable of sustained automatic. By the way, again, really fucking easy to kill aircraft with these things, and they look like every angle, which might be problematic. Rel, please. So, 40 seconds, here we go, boys. Fires 2 at one side of the clip, so you effectively have 10 trigger pulls, or, you know, if you're using automatic, obviously it's not trigger pulls, but you get the idea. As you can see, the ammo counter is going down by 2. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, remove Vanu 2017 Hail TR, but seriously, this is Vanu's seriously getting screwed in this one. Long range shooting, no different than, you know, any of the other ones. Pretty good, but the time to is just immensely high. If this is compensation for the no bullet drop, I don't think that this amount of TTK is worth it. But above all else, this raises a serious question. Why would anyone want to choose this over a Fury or a Basilisk? Namely, what I can think of is that the long-range capabilities that these guns are offering is not worth the incredible loss in time to kill, especially on a lot of these targets. I know I am considering not considering the extra time to kill the front gun, but assuming they're all NS weapons and you're not planning on adding ES guns in the future to the front slot, this is, you know, they're basically, it's null. It's going to be reduced by the same value across all factions, regardless. So, I think the Vanu one needs something to make it a little bit better. More velocity, maybe, or something. The TR one definitely needs something to make it stand out. Right now it is effectively an inferior Paladin. Same with the Aurora. There's no role that the Aurora fills that the Paladin doesn't. more spam, awesome, but you're getting extra bullets and more trigger pulls at the sake of better DPS. And same with the Siegebreaker, essentially, compared to the Paladin. I think round 2 was a step a little bit too far in the right direction. Developers definitely did take care of the immense AV power that it was giving the Sundy, but they have effectively neutered every single weapon. And the only one that has anything really kind of unique anymore is the Paladin for the insane velocity. Please nerf 2017. But anyway, I'll leave this up for Reddit to deliberate. I think that there's a lot of work to be done. These guns are nowhere close to being released, and a lot of questions need to be asked on the effectiveness of giving Sundy's AV combat power that isn't a Basilisk or Fury, and what the role of each gun would be and what its specialty would be in each case if you are going this route. Anyway, this is Dev signing off.